What's up everyone, Omar here, and welcome to today's episode where I'm going to tell you about all the nifty accessories I've been using on my Canon PowerShot V1 over the past year. Regulars on this channel will know that I have done way too many videos on cages and different accessories while we were waiting for the aftermarket to actually catch up, because for some reason they weren't prepared for this camera when it came out, despite it clearly being probably the best camera anyone's released in point-and-shoot form over the past decade. It's only now that people are starting to recognize it, mostly because they're starting to realize that the Canon G7X Mark III is absolute garbage. No one should be buying that camera whatsoever in the year 2026 or beyond, depending on when you're watching this. With that being said, this is my primary video camera, especially when I'm out of the house. I haven't done a formal review on the camera itself, just a couple of comparisons that I'll be linking above if you want to check those out. But if you want to see a formal review and some kind of user guide, let me know in the comments below. But for today, let's jump into it, starting with number one, the cage. This cage right here is a small rig cage, and this is something I was expecting to have on release day for this thing, or very shortly soon after, and for whatever reason, this was the last one that came to bat. Finally, Small Rig decided to release one, I think it was like a year after this was released, and as expected, it was the best cage out of all of them, because A, it was an actual cage, and B, they didn't really skip out on anything. They've got everything from 3/8 inch hole with a 1/4 inch adapter. Area locating pins can be used here, so if you're hanging it off something, which we'll talk about a little later, it's not going to be twisting or anything. Also has mounts on the side over here, also has mounts on the grip side, which is what a lot of the other ones were missing. And then has your standard kind of like half cheese plate and Arca Swiss plate on the bottom right here. Extremely functional cage, can't be beat. If you are someone who is shooting video with this thing, which I would imagine most people are, even though it's a very capable photo camera, this is going to be the one that you want to pick up. It's super secure. Obviously you've got the connection here, but then it also connects into where you would normally put your anchors or standard factory strap if you're a crazy person. It's been really secure since. Haven't taken it off, don't plan on taking it off. And I think this is the single most useful accessory for pretty much anyone who owns this camera. The next thing, as you may have noticed, and is a new addition from any of the other videos that I did, is, wow, why is there an ND filter here? You don't have to get the free will, I just like these. So, JJC is the company that normally makes these, or at least the ones that I trust. And it's the stick-on adapter. Let's wait for the Fuji autofocus to focus, there we go. So this stick-on adapter, it's pretty simple. It's a two-sided adhesive tape, and I went over a short. I don't know if I can link shorts, but I'll overlay a clip of it here so you can see how I would recommend you install it, because it's not just sticking it on. If you put some weight on it, it won't come off. This has been on since it was made available. Now, this camera has a built-in 3-stop ND filter, which is great for video, but when it's really bright outside and you want to shoot wide open, it's not cutting enough light. So that's when I put on my variable ND filter of choice. And in this case, it is the Freewell unit. I'll link you to some other ones. They're 58mm ND filters. So if you have 58mm VNDs, then you're fine. If you don't, you can pick up a Freewell for not too much money. I don't think they make this model anymore, but they have a lot of others. Or you can go with whatever your preferred choice is. The Nisi True Colors are also really good. I also use those. And that's pretty much it. This is the second recommendation I would make right after the cage. I think for most people, you can probably stop right here as far as accessorizing the camera goes. This really does elevate the experience for anyone shooting video on this, but we're going to talk through the rest of them in case you find any of these other things that I use, again, on a daily basis, useful for you. So the next one is actually in here. Now, we know aftermarket batteries, they typically have less capacity than the factory batteries. If this one has less capacity, I haven't noticed it functionally, but the reason why I carry this one all the time, come on, Fuji autofocus. I think I set it to slow cinematic myself, so that's on me. But it's this USB-C port right here. So you can run your batteries, you can run multiples, and then you can charge these on the side via USB-C. You don't need to have like one of these. This is also what it came in, but you don't need to have one of these to charge them unless you want to speed charge a couple of them. And this works effective, especially if you're trying to travel light. Because if all you have to carry is a USB-C cable and like maybe something to plug into the wall, or if you have a battery pack, then you don't have to carry all the other stuff that you normally do with most cameras in order to charge it when the battery runs out. And while the battery life is great for this thing, all things considered, it is going to chew through them, especially on a hot day, especially if you're recording 10-bit C-Log 3, all that good stuff there, and using the view assist tools. You get the idea. This is not going to run forever. Picking up a couple of these are really cost effective. I think you can buy 4 of them for the price of 1 factory replacement, so that's another incentive to do it. You can buy them individually or with that little Lano flip case thing to charge multiples at the same time through USB-C. It's really up to you. But this is really the one that I think a lot of people would benefit from, because you just plug in a USB-C cable, we all have a billion of them, and then you're done. Let's pop this guy in, because now we are going outside of the camera, like physically, things attached to it. Well, at least like somewhat permanently attached to it. So this next one has a bit of a story attached to it, one that kind of bothers me, but I want to let you guys know what it is, and it's still useful. Like for our purposes, if you have this camera and you want to use a flash, which is what this is right here. This is the Godox IT32 flash system. It's fantastic, much like all of Godox's Speedlight, except that this one is also wireless with no pairing, no nothing. So you can literally just have it on the camera, boom, and now you are off camera with your flash. There is a problem though. Because this camera doesn't have a hot shoe, it only has Canon's multifunction shoe. See that thing right there? See how there's no like middle pin like you would normally see? Because of that, you need an adapter. And that adapter is the Canon ADE one, which it's kind of a chunky guy. This is what you need to connect any flash there. Let me get you a better look on that. You're going to need this thing here because that provides the hot shoe connection. Now, when you have that on, in order to use whatever flash it is, again, I'm definitely recommending this Godox, whatever flash of choice you have, you just screw it on and then you use it like any other flash. The one good thing I can say about this is that it acts as a riser, so you're never going to get shadow regardless of what zoom range you're on. You're not going to get the lens or the cage blocking any of the light and get those weird like well exposed and then underexposed photos when something is cut in half. And plus, again, just knock it off and you can take some photos. What bothers me about this is that Godox actually made a trigger where you don't need this. So you can just plug this in directly, but Canon threatened to sue them. So you cannot buy that thing. But I heard that Godox is still selling it somehow in mainland China. I've looked to see if I could import it. You can't import it. I was really hyped when they initially announced it because I was like, oh man, we're finally going to be able to bypass this thing and have like a smaller footprint on a flash. You don't. We don't. So this is the compromise, and it's still good because the rest of the system is pretty small, and this flash itself is small, and it has a lot of functionality both on and off camera. You can even use that as a trigger to trigger other flashes. I'm okay with it. I'm just not happy knowing that there was a solution made and we're just being prevented from using it. Also because I know Canon isn't planning on releasing something like this on their own. Like you can buy their big flashes. They have 2 flashes that plug directly into the multifunction shoe, but they're like the size of the camera itself. So it's a little goofy. Like if they could have at least licensed it out until they made their own or something, that would have been great. But you know, this is, what do they used to call it? The Canon cripple hammer. Yeah, I think that's the only thing that took away from this camera. And again, this is a video focused camera, obviously with all the vents and everything, but it's still a really, really capable photo camera. It's what I use to take all my thumbnails nowadays. And it's just a shame that we have to take this extra step, especially since I think these aren't manufactured year round, because there seems to always be a supply issue in Q3, Q4. Like once you start hitting September, these start getting harder to find if you don't already have one. And the only cameras that really lack the hot shoe and need the multifunction shoe to use it are usually their entry-level cameras, which like I get, but at the same time, come on guys, come on. You know, it's just upsetting. At least release your own if you're gonna block them from releasing this. For this last one, we're gonna have to head outside, but make sure you like and subscribe and let me know in the comments below if you have any questions in particular about this camera or anything else. Welcome to the outside. So the last item on this list is the Tilta Hydra electronic suction mount. And there are a couple of reasons I went with this one in particular, but suction mounts in general are just something I like using for cars because they provide movement. A more cost-effective alternative, which comes in handy if you want to pop in and out of your car, is something like this. It's a magnetic connector, so you can mount your camera onto the top or any other metal surface without any problems. But the Tilta unit's what I use when I'm trying to get some establishing shots or occasionally some transition shots, whether it's in my own YouTube videos or with any clients. And it's got a pretty small footprint, especially when combined with something, wow, it's getting bright out here, especially when combined with something like the Canon PowerShot V1. Since I shoot on a Canon system, it's very easy to match the footage because it's got the cinema gamut, 10-bit video, all that good stuff. And using it is actually also really easy. Now, you can connect pretty much any kind of attachment you want. The unit that I have has the connectors that include 4-point area locating pin with a 3/8 inch mount. Same thing with a 1/4 inch mount. It's got a airy Rosetta mount thing here as well, which I guess maybe you use this with something heavy with multiple connectors. I don't know. I've never used it. Don't plan on using it. But I just use this little small rig. I don't know if I would call something this small a magic arm or articulating arm, but this thing right here. And it works perfectly with the connector on top of the small rig cage. Surprise, surprise. You just screw it on here. And then it also has, I like this one because it has its own built-in tool and I don't have to remember to carry the screwdriver with me. Connected. You press this button once here. It turns on. It's so bright I don't know if you can see it. But you can hear the sound. And that's when the vacuum is activated, and that's when you press it right here. And that's it. By itself, it's super tight. So now I can position this whether I want to talk outside of the car, set myself up to talk inside of the car just to grab a transition shot. And that's all there is to it. You can get a pretty inexpensive remote monitoring arm for this as well. It's just I always forget to get it. And that'll let you know if the suction is letting loose or not, because this thing will automatically start drawing air out again if the suction is getting loose. But if it happens a little too often, you're going to want to recheck exactly where it is that you mounted it. I like this more than the inexpensive manual ones because those will just fall off, whereas this one will keep checking and will correct and again just do the suction all over again if it ends up getting loose. But now, and let's say we'll start recording here, but now this is just a very easy way to set up any kind of shot that you would want. And like, this is kind of a weird way to use it, in all honesty. Probably not my first choice, but the fact that I can do it and it's actually working out much better than I thought. Maybe I'll just start using this as my default instead of the tripod. It just makes shooting a lot easier with the Canon PowerShot V1, and that pretty much rounds out my list. There are probably a couple of other useful accessories. These are just the ones that are pretty much with me at all times, either in my backpack or in my car. And if you have any other questions about the PowerShot V1, just let me know in the comments below. And that's pretty much it for today's episode. So as always, I'll catch you at the next one. See ya.